Welcome back to another episode of Pinals People. Our guest today is Rickey Robinson. Mr. Robinson is the booking manager at the Paramount Theater in Casa Grande, a position he has held since 2018. And he is also the drummer and promoter of the Motown tribute group En Focus, which has performed around Pinal County and Phoenix. Rickey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So to begin with today, could you tell our audience members that might not be pretty familiar with you and your work, a little bit about your background and the work you do with the Paramount Theater here in Casa Grande?
Oh, okay, sure. I'm retired from United Parcel Service from Chicago, Illinois. I relocated up here, and I met the owner of the Paramount Theater when I was performing with my band In Focus. And then once I got together with the owner, which is Debbie Martin, she asked me would I be interested in managing the theater and putting on more events. And sure, I took that task over. And the Paramount Theater, we usually rent it out for weddings, birthday parties, or any kind of events that you would normally have. But we really specialize in weddings and events for the community, baby showers, and meetings, church events throughout the Casa Grande area.
You can go ahead. You can continue if you'd like.
Oh, okay. So what we've been doing, we've been putting on different plays and dinners within the community, and we try to get everyone involved and come out on a nice weekend and do something different that's right here in your hometown. So then people will come out and have private parties. That's when we get into the weddings and the private birthday parties and everything. But the theater is open year round, and we have all kind of events. Then we have parties like for Halloween. We have Halloween. The theater is open up for Halloween, and then downtown walk in Casa Grande, we open up the theater so people out of town can come in and see what's going on within town with the different shows and the different varieties of music that we have within the city.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And so, as I understand it, you actually moved from Chicago,
Yes.
and you live in Maricopa.
Yes.
And I'm kind of curious, what attracted you to Pinal County, especially that you mentioned that you had retired. So what was the draw for you?
Well, when I retired at UPS, I was a manager for UPS, and I transferred one of my employees out here in Arizona. So he relocated in Maricopa, and he invited my wife and I to stay for a week, and we fell in love with the town and the surrounding areas, because when we here, we visit also Casa Grande, Florence, Coolidge, and the neighboring communities. So we decided to settle in Maricopa, and then from there on, we performed, and I met the owner of the Paramount Theater here in Casa Grande, which is my other home. So that's how I ended up in Maricopa/Casa Grande.
Mm-hmm. And so, share with us a little bit about what got you interested in music. Had this been like a lifelong passion for you, or how did we go from being a retired UPS employee to creating music?
Okay. When I was working for UPS, I had a band. I've been doing music since I was, let's say 5 years old, playing the drums. So as my career at UPS as a manager, I also would do entertainment on the weekends and sometimes weeknights. So that's my passion, and the passion became a reality when I was able to retire. But I had no idea I was going to go back into management again. But it's a lot of fun, and I still have my band, and I still have the passion for managing the theater at the same time.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people would make the assumption that there's a stark difference between the music industry and the music, scene
Mm-hmm.
in Chicago compared to a rural area like Pinal County. And I'm curious because you're part of an 8-member Motown
Yes.
group called En Focus. And you guys have played in venues as I mentioned before, all across Pinal County and then also in Phoenix. You've played at Harrah's Auction, the Duke's Country Club, and of course the Paramount.
Yes.
So what's been the most surprising thing you've learned about the music and entertainment scene here in Pinal County since becoming the manager at Paramount and since even starting En Focus?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a difference in, I would say, the entertainment world where Chicago is much, much faster. And Arizona, especially Casa Grande, Maricopa, is more laid back. It's more friendly like. You know, you can come to the Paramount Theater and you can see people there every once a month or every time we have a show, opposed to Chicago. When you go out to the big city, you would never see that person again. So it's more interacting with the community and getting to know the community, and the community getting to patronize your business and things like that. So it's totally different. Yeah.
And do you enjoy that? Like, you know, when you put on shows at the Paramount, do you enjoy seeing some of the same faces in the audience? Is that something you, as a performer, that you enjoy? Does that make you feel more comfortable?
I enjoy it better because it's more personalized. Now you are establishing friends, real friends, besides somebody to say, okay, I just want to entertain you and have your money. But now I want to entertain you so you can come back and we can have a relationship.
Yeah.
So it's totally different now.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. And then, so, you know, what would you say has been the biggest lesson you've learned since starting your Motown group and Focus?
Well, like you said, you're never too old to learn. But the biggest thing I learned that is going from having a band and managing a theater. So you have to separate the two. And I mean, what I mean by that, majority of the time, I'm not on stage with the band because I have to run the theater and manage the theater. But the people see me as part of the band and part of the theater. So when they put that together, they go, okay, I'm still having a good time with the band and also Rickey, and enjoying the surrounding elements that the theater has to offer. And that's the biggest, you know, the difference between the two. And it was the biggest challenge for me to put both of them together because I love playing the drums. I've been playing since I was 5, so I had to be taken away from the stage because you can't play the drums and run the theater at the same time.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You know, I hadn't even thought about that. There's a whole different dynamic when it comes to running like a big entertainment venue like that. And so one thing I would love to know from you is, you know, when you took over this role in 2018, first of all, I'd love to get a little bit of insight about, you know, what was sort of, I guess, the first thing that ran through your mind when this was kind of propositioned to you, and what, you know, since then, what has become your vision for, you know, a venue, especially like the Paramount, that has such a long legacy here in this community? I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Okay, well, I had no idea. Like I said, you never say never to anything. So my idea was to be a drummer and love to play music. But Debbie Martin, who's the owner of the theater, and she somehow got it out of me or found out about my background, which was I was a manager for UPS for 20 years. So she wanted to bring those management skills back and help bring the thrive back at the theater. So she said, okay, I want people to come out and know the theater and have a nice time. So she kept asking me, and I just said, okay, yes, I'll take it on. And it became entertaining music and people is something I love to do anyway. So it was just natural for me to take it over, and the love that I have for theater anyway. So I learned a lot from the theater, and the skills that I had managing UPS, I brought that over to the theater side because I always managed the band. And it all came together. And then finding about the community in Casa Grande, I get to meet so many different people and within the community, and wanted to thrive and have different people come to the community and put more like the Paramount and Casa Grande on the map to say, okay, I want to see a show here, and we bring more people out to Casa Grande.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, because I think so often, you know, especially since we're surrounded by these larger communities like Phoenix and Tucson, I think so often people, either whether they're out of towners or even if they're just, you know, new to the community, we can undervalue what our entertainment industry has to offer here. So if there's something you would like residents in this community to know about entertainment in Pinal County, and especially at the Paramount, what would it be? And, you know, sort of, if you could also encapsulate, you know, what do you think the vision is, you know, 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a like I said, Casa Grande is slow, so it's going to take time to build up. It's like a word of mouth. It has to get out there, and you have to participate in what's going on in your community. Because I've been at this theater for since 2018, and I could say 60% of the people. Of course, I have a conversation with them, and they said, "I never knew this place was here," and that just amazes me, considering this downtown Casa Grande. And they said, I never knew this place was out here." So we have to get that word out there, and by me having these shows and the promotion and the marketing, now they can go out there instead of taking their dollars to Phoenix or Tucson. Is right here in their hometown, and you'd be surprised how many people will go outside their town for entertainment, and it's right here. You don't have to go that far.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a word of mouth and communicating and hoping that word get out so people can spend their money inside the community. Because I keep hearing it, I just can't believe, even some teachers that I met here that works at the school district said, "I never knew this place was here." I was like, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing I was kind of curious about is, we talked about some of the challenges that you've had being, the booking manager at the Paramount, especially going, it's a little bit of a shift, right? But I would love to know a little bit about what's been your favorite thing.
My favorite thing?
Yeah, about being the manager over there.
Well, my favorite thing is when we have a show, and then I would always greet people as they come in and as they leave. And then they would stop and talk to me and said, "Okay, I had a great time. I'm coming back again." And that just gives me inspiration to keep doing what I'm doing and try to get better at it. But I rarely have had any complaints about, what are we doing at the theater and what kind of, were they satisfied, and they really love it. Mm-hmm. So that's my inspiration to keep me going, and that's why I always tell Debbie, "Okay, I'll see you next year."
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. And so, the other thing is, I think you're such a tribute and sort of like a local success story in the fact that, you've gone from being retired to using an interest you had growing up to do something else and kind of start a spark in the local entertainment industry. And so what I would like to know is if you had any advice for people in our community, no matter their age, that might be musically inclined and are thinking about, should I share my talents locally? How do I go about doing that? What would be, the 2 or 3 pieces of advice you'd give them?
Well, I would say, first of all, never say what you can't do, and then always never be afraid to go outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, this is a small town. I wasn't used to a small town. I was used to a big audience. And when we first performed here, it was a small turnout. And then when the owner talked to me, she goes, "It's going to get bigger. People got to get to know you. And you will feel the love that's coming from the people to the theater." And then, of course, I'm coming from a big town like Chicago, and I'm like, "Okay, we come to a full house, we play, I don't want to see you again." And then till the next paycheck. But then it's totally different. So, I mean, that was the love that I had. And then it has to grow in you. So I would tell anybody, take your time. Well, I can't say take it because I'm retired now, so I had nothing but time. But I can give them that advice that, that other road that seems to be dark, it's got a rainbow at the end of it, and just go down that path and have faith in yourself. Mm-hmm. But it's really the love for the community. I always loved the small town. Yeah, I lived and grew up in a big city, but I always was a small town kind of guy. And once I got here, I would have took over any challenge to get involved with the community.
Yeah, I love that. That's wonderful. And just to kind of give people a picture of this, you said that when you initially started playing out here, the crowds were pretty minimal, and it's grown over time. Could you, do you remember about how many people were at the first show that you guys played at the Paramount, and compared to, when you play a show now, what does that look like?
Yeah, when we played at the theater, it was about, the theater could hold maximum 200, wall to wall back in that day. And I think we had about 50 performing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And so now, how many, what would you say?
Well, before COVID, It was a full show.
Full show.
So after COVID, now it's building back
Still
up.
building. Yeah.
And it's great because now you're seeing the old faces, and then some of the faces, they still kind of leery about coming out. But it's just fun seeing people, and you'd be surprised. And I can't remember everybody's name, especially with the age. And they go, "You remember me? My name is so and so." I go, "Yeah, I do." But that tells you they remember you, and they know everything that they do when they come to that theater. Yeah. So that's what really, just keeps you all smiles and keep you going.
Yeah, that's great. And Rickey, just one last question. Mm-hmm. So, another 30, 40, or 50 years down the line, as you reflect on your life, what are the things you'll always look back on fondly when it comes to your time with In Focus and with the Paramount?
Mm-hmm. Well, look, going forward, let me see. Let's how about I'll try retiring for the second time. And then, I've just been blessed. I've been had so much fun with the band, even in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And then I was blessed to retire early. And I just thought I'd never work again. And it's fun at the theater, but it's actually work. It's because there's accountability, responsibility, and you are there to entertain. So you have a job. You have a job to entertain and put smiles on people's faces. And my expectation, once you come in that theater, everything else outside that theater just loses and drop it. The problems you have, the medical conditions, and that's what people do. They come in, they forget everything, and then when they leave out, they say, "I had a nice time." That's all they was focusing on is the entertainment, and that's what everybody focuses on, entertainment. And then, of course, you go back to the real world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful, though.
Yeah.
Rickey,
that's my goal.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
appreciate
me.
it.